Credit cards and medical bankruptcy. Credit cards and medical bills can overwhelm you before you know what hit you, and then, suddenly, you're in a hole so deep you can't get out. I know because I've been there. Over 20 years ago, I fell off the roof of my house, broke my back, and couldn't work for a year. I had no insurance, had to live on credit cards, and before I knew it, my savings were gone. I had to borrow money just to feed my family. I even made my house payment on a MasterCard. If you look at your credit card bill, you'll see that if you don't charge another nickel and if you only make minimum payments, it'll probably take you 30 years to get your card paid off. Most of what you pay will be interest, at a high rate too, probably. How many of these credit cards do you have? And even with insurance, any medical problem can spell financial disaster in short order. Medical problems strike without warning. We're all at risk of being financially strapped just because we had the bad fortune to get sick. You know, it's ironic. My wife teases me all the time. I try to eat healthy and watch my weight, but 2 years ago I was hospitalized twice. I had 2 surgeries back to back, followed by a year of trips to the doctor just to figure out what was still wrong with me. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I try to be healthy, but I still ended up repeatedly hospitalized with expensive medical treatment as a result. Life happens, bills pile up. Sometimes we have to rely on credit cards. Credit cards are easy to get, but it's too easy to get behind. And when you get too far behind, it's easy to stick your head in the sand and pretend you're okay when really you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. The longer you ignore the problem, the bigger it gets. And credit cards and medical collectors are suing faster and faster these days. But there is a way out, several ways out, in fact, depending on who you owe and how much you owe and how far behind you are and other factors. You have a number of different options. Sometimes simple credit counseling will help. In other cases, we make a deal with creditors directly, or the collection companies if the bills have been turned over to collections. I've saved thousands of dollars through debt negotiations for my clients. I've done it for myself and for my family members as well. But if your debt is too much for your budget, if after paying for your living expenses, your rent, house payment, car, food, utilities, etc., there just isn't enough left to work with, then bankruptcy should be evaluated. Many people think that you can't discharge credit cards, or that if you wipe out medical bills in a bankruptcy, you can't go to the hospital ever again. Fortunately for all of us, none of this is true. Depending on how much income you have and what your expenses are, I'll show you what options make the most sense for you. Remember, family comes first. Credit cards and medical bills get paid only after the family's needs are met. If there's only a little left over, we can make a deal with creditors, or if they won't work with us, we'll consider the next step, which could be a bankruptcy. But don't believe for a second that your medical bills, credit cards, payday loans, signature loans, and all kinds of unsecured bills somehow would not be wiped out in a bankruptcy, because bankruptcy is a federal law. You have the legal right to wipe out these bills, and your right to file bankruptcy is still available to you. It can't be limited or taken away from you. Family comes first, and you can wipe out all of these bills in bankruptcy if you need to.